say bespoke longtime viewers, and I stopped myself. Did you see that? People are like, he says bespoke too much. And I'm trying. So when you submit your questions, please preface your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. It's going to help our community management team pull it out from all the other conversation that's going on. Additionally, we also put up a thread on Spectrum earlier in the week to start collecting questions for folks who maybe couldn't be here live and allow folks to vote them up to see which questions they wanted to see answered most. So while questions are coming in today, we're going to start with some of those pregame questions that came in throughout the week. Right off the bat, when will we be able to share missions with people in the same party so we can all benefit from the payout? We know that's a request that players have been looking for a long time.
Straight in with a when question.
Yeah.
Okay. So good news actually on this. We had to design. It entailed some UI and some support from maybe groups and that, and we realized that it wasn't going to get done quickly enough. Obviously, we know how badly you guys want this, and we want it. Like, we've been kind of working around this in various ways, with like kind of cooperative missions and stuff. But we had our me and my coder. We looked at the design and tried to simplify it back down to what we could deliver quite quickly and easily, and we managed to get something earlier this week that was really promising. And Ed Fuller, my principal designer, he did an audit of all of our missions that he just finished today, and he came to the conclusion that it would be easy for most of them. Some of them do need some work. Like, for instance, like in the example is like race missions. So you can share this mission with everyone else. Only the mission owner can pass through the checkpoints. Otherwise, I could share this with everyone, and they could be at every single checkpoint and instantly finish the mission. So there are, like, obviously some missions have edge cases like that we have to catch, but we're like straight off the bat on Wednesday when he showed us this, we were able to share a delivery mission. Now, like, certain things straight away didn't work, but we've managed over just the course of 2 days to get that up and running. So I can't answer when exactly. I think it will be more of a kind of rolled out mission by mission as we can convert them. Yeah. But this is it's so promising. We were so happy at the start, Wednesday.
It's one of those refactors you're happy about because you
want
people to be able to do it.
Mission sharing. Perhaps some of the best news I've heard in a long time. This is a feature that, we've been talking about here for well over a year. Something that is eagerly anticipated, I bet you, across the entire community. And it has to do with ships like the one that you're seeing on screen right now, the Caterpillar. Big ships, large ships. When I look at these ships, I've always kind of looked at them as not just, a vehicle for myself within the universe, but also as kind of a metaphorical vehicle for other people who join me on that ship. A vehicle towards financial progression, towards adventures, things like that. And hearing this, and hearing how, even if it's something that, the previous missions that we all have, they have to look at them each, once, one at a time on a case-by-case basis and make adjustments there. That's fine. But once they've got this, that means the missions that they develop going forward are probably going to have this feature in mind. And that is something that is so good and so great to hear. If we have to wait till 3.7 or beyond before we start to see even these missions begin to trickle into the game, that's fine, because what it does is it lays the foundation for the multiplayer part of the massively multiplayer online game, which, quite frankly, a lot of MMOs tend to neglect these days. They tend to go for that one-man army approach. They tend to cater to the less invested and less involved players, the more transient members of the community who just kind of go, oh, well, can I do this? Can I do that? Oh, I should be able to do everything by myself. I don't want to wait for other people. Whereas those of us who are perhaps a little bit older and remember the earlier entries in the MMO genre, remember that a lot of these games were fairly brutal in the beginning, and you had to group up with other players to get things done. And even though to some people today that might seem like a terrible inconvenience, it actually helped us develop social connections through gaming, some of which you may still know some of the people that you played with decades ago, or you may still remember some of the people that you played your first MMOs with, and you might have a whole bunch of really great memories about that. And it's this sort of thing that just kind of, it kicks open the door to that in Star Citizen. One of the biggest problems that Star Citizen has as a, quote unquote live game is that it doesn't really foster multiplayer gameplay. It does very, very little. In fact, the bare minimum to foster that currently. And it's not, anyone's real fault, because the game just isn't at that stage of development. But now that we're kind of walking through this door, it's so good to hear. Whenever you walk around any of your big ships, just like I'm doing right now, one of the things you kind of notice is there's nobody here. There's nobody on the ship because there's no reason to be here other than the guy who's flying the ship. But now, with the possibility that missions are now going to become shareable, that everyone can earn a piece of the reward, there's now a reason to be here. Now we can start to look at missions, beyond just shipping one little small cubic crate from this location to that location. What about an entire caterpillar full of cargo? What is the payout on a mission like that going to be? And what are the shares on a mission like that going to be? That gives people a reason to group up, to form social connections, to find out, oh, this guy's a good gunner, so I definitely want to bring him aboard. Or this person's really bad, so I kind of want to avoid them. This guy doesn't shut up, yada, yada, yada. Having something like this in games sooner rather than later is a great thing, because one of the things that allows us to do is that allows us to play with other people, to find other people in the game, and find the people we like playing with versus the people we don't like playing with. And it's a lot easier to learn that when, losses don't really count all that much right now. It'll be easier to figure out who you want to play with and who you don't want to play with. So often when you're playing Star Citizen in the PU right now, you'll see people saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to pull out my 600, I'm going to pull out my Starfarer, I'm going to pull out my Hammerhead, whatever. Who wants to come for a ride on my ship? And it's just like, well, why not? I've never been on one of these ships, so why not check it out? But there's no real drive, there's no real need, there's no real impetus to get on someone else's ship, because chances are you logged onto the game and you probably had something you want to do. Maybe you want to earn up a little extra UEC so that you can put a different set of guns on your ship or a different set of armor for your character. You want to go out and you want to check out the universe, but you still want to kind of do your own thing, even though your progression is erased quarterly or sometimes even between that. You still want to have that sense of forward motion, of attaining something. And by allowing players to share their successes much more easily, let's be honest, you could use a service beacon to pay someone a certain amount of credits before, but it was a very, iffy system, to say the least. Now you actually have that capability, right? Now you actually are able to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to hand this person, a certain portion of this mission. Now, is it going to be something that's defined by us, or is it going to be something that's defined by CIG? I don't know. Could we end up working on a share system, and more shares equals more likely to get more people on your ship or better people to play with you? Who knows? It could be very interesting if it works out that way, if the players are allowed to define the pricing and as such, acquire the players with the best reputations to work on their ships if they're so motivated to do so. I just hope that when it comes to the balancing of this sort of thing, that it's balanced in favor of teamwork, that it's balanced in favor of encouraging players to interact and play together with each other, because I think that that's generally where you form the best social connections in an MMO and where you get the best stories and the best experiences. Now, there was a couple of other parts to this Friday video that CIG put out that I kind of want to talk about. The hacking stuff, obviously, Piracy Show, we'll set that aside for then. But they did talk briefly about in the future when weather comes in and players won't be able to maybe land their ship directly at a landing site. Instead, they may have to land close by and then proceed in on a ground vehicle or something like that. It kind of drives home the value of the larger ships that can carry these ground vehicles. I mean, my Caterpillar came with 2 Dragonflies, and I'm very excited to see the cargo on those implemented, the little 1 SCU cargo space that each one has. But I'm also eager to see when we get to a point that we actually need to use these things. That I think is going to be really fun. But even when you do have a larger ship like this, it just helps drive home the idea that, you're going to end up having to work together with other players. And I think that that's not altogether a bad thing, especially if you use your time wisely nowadays to find the right people to play with. Anyways, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.